LinkedIn. All right, how about now? How do I look? Can you hear me? Oh, no, wrong way. Am I moving okay? I think I'm going. Hi, VP Tech Ops. Can you hear me okay? Hello, DCD. All right. Hoo boy. I think I changed my mind what we're going to talk about. Hello, NetVentive. Great. I'm glad you can hear me, VP Tech Ops. Okay, so let's get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Scott, and I work for Adafruit on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed to run on little tiny computers called microcontrollers. I will use the board I designed to show you that. So this is an ESP32P4 chip here. It's got RAM and two CPUs and all that stuff just on there, and then you can talk to it via USB. And this can run CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python, the Python programming language that runs on little tiny things like this. Hello, Fire X10. So this is a board I'm calling the P4 GPIO. And the goal with this board was to have as many GPIO from the P4 as I could. I got 48 out here plus I2C. And this little yellow wire is a mistake I made in the design, and I have since ordered a newer version that has that fixed. So that's one thing I work on. I work on this for Adafruit. They are an open source hardware and software company based out of New York City, who I work remote for. So I'm actually based in Seattle, hence the 2 o'clock time. Hello, Love the Factory. Did I show that board last week? I feel like I did, but I can't remember. I've had kind of a weird week because my youngest was sick. So I was home with her for a couple days this week. So yeah, that's the P4 GPIO. The other board that I've been showing on this, actually I should wrap up Adafruit. Adafruit is open source hardware and software. This might be an Adafruit board, I don't know. It's not quite up to me whether it actually gets put in the shop, but Lady Ada, who owns the company and runs it, I kind of assume she will, but we'll see. You can go to adafruit.com, purchase hardware there, which supports me. They pay me to do this. It is their channel. You sent me the Zephyr code. And yeah, so the theme of this year has been thus far that the way that I'm working is changing a lot. And I was doing a lot of large language model agentic stuff. And then I ran into this problem that testing it is actually hard. And so I came up with this design of a hardware in the loop board, which is a similar board to this. It runs an ESP32P4, but it is meant to self-contain the device under test, which might be something actually, I'll use one of these actually to test a P4, for example. So I have that ordered. I think I was fixing it last week, if I remember right. So I fixed the rest of the stuff, and I ordered it on Monday or Tuesday, and I think I've done all of I ordered it from JLC PCB, and did try to, and I've approved everything, so it should be in the works. I don't know exactly when I'll get it. I'll obviously show it off here, go to the makerspace where I go to solder, get it set up so I can start using it. I actually ordered 10. I ordered 10, cross the fingers, because I actually do want to set it up as a board farm. So a board farm is the idea that you have a bunch of these plugged in all at once. And yeah, last week I connected the flash power pin, which is what that yellow wire is. Yeah, so I get the order in. Hopefully I don't have to bodge wires onto it to get it to work. But then I can put the headers on and get 10, or I think I'll do 9. I'll do 9 kind of fixed ones, and then a 10th one to prototype with, or put different things on. And yeah, so that's coming. It should be coming in the last order for these took 2 weeks. I think the next order might actually take a little bit longer because the hardware in the loop board has a couple parts that get hand soldered. The double USB-As and the Ethernet jacks get hand soldered. So I think that might take a little bit of extra time. But I'll definitely show those off here. What else? So what I was doing is like, are their ETAs reliable? Well, I don't have an ETA for this, but once the first order shipped, it came like 2 days faster, which is great. So yeah, I'll just keep you posted. And the files are all under my user on GitHub. P4HIL, hardware in the loop, is the repo for that board. So the idea is that like I want to figure out how to get it so that like, oh, if I'm fixing a bug on an ESP32C6, which I actually did yesterday manually, how can I like get that dev board in the loop to like in an agent loop that just so it can say build, run, build, run, build, run, get the feedback out, all that. Love the Factory asks, is ztwister helpful? I've not looked into it a lot. I have not. So ztwister is Zephyr's hardware in the loop testing, and I have not been able to reliably find like a good documentation on how those boards are set up. I did actually ask somebody on the Zephyr world who works for Nordic, like, okay, like, how do you have it set up? And they're like, oh, I just use jumper wires to go from another NRF52840 to the device I'm testing. And I'm like, not quite what I want. I want something that's a little bit more prescribed. I talked about this when I was like, why I did my own board. A little bit more prescribed. Like it has like specific place that you should kind of like place the boards. And it's got a place for headers and stuff. So hopefully that'll work out. Time will tell. But yeah, I haven't tried it. The approach that I've started to take, so actually let me read Firex's comment. The ESP32P4's hardware acceleration sounds amazing for high FPS animations. Do you think it's the new go-to for wearable displays? I'm not sure I would go so far as wearables, because they are quite power hungry. I think like the P4 takes like 380 milliamps when it's cranking. So for something that's plugged in, yes, for sure. Also because it has DSI and CSI. So like yeah, I think if you're doing larger displays, I guess, yeah, I wouldn't think wearable, but now that I think about it, M5 stack has the Tab 5, which is like a tablet, and they have like an old, I think of them as old camera batteries that you can slot on it. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think the P4 is still kind of like the next big thing for CircuitPython and makers in general. And I'm really like not even using all of that stuff. Taya says, dang, I do not want to have a trillion analog switches and muxes, but I so want dynamic hardware switching to device under tests. The reason I don't really want dynamic device under tests, because I just want to have them all, because I want to be able to do them in parallel, potentially. So like if I'm doing a CircuitPython change that applies to every board, I want to be able to test every board in parallel. And the nice thing about the P4 is that a lot of its peripherals are behind the GPIO mux. So like if we're testing I2C or doing the like parallel IO capture, like that's behind the GPIO mux and can go on any GPIO pin, which is part of why like the P4 finally got me over the hump of like doing this thing. Love the Factory. Which Zephyr target is best for audio streaming from a homebrew Adafruit I2S guitar pickup? I do not know. I'm sorry. I don't know a lot about the audio stuff, and I don't know a lot about Zephyr stuff. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think I added I2S support. But yeah, I don't know. It's been actually a little while since I did Zephyr. I have a change to update Zephyr, and I don't even know if I don't know what the state that PR is in. And then Tyeth is asking about the S31. So let's, let me get a new browser going, and then I'll switch to it. Boop. So let's talk about the S31. Here's the S31, and oh, apologies that my chat is still not working. I need to file an issue. But yeah, my chat, I know my chat's not working. So S31 is a new ESP32 chip from Espressif. It sounds kind of like DCD. Doesn't Adafruit have a forum to ask questions about Adafruit products? Yes, they do. Yeah, forums.adafruit.com, something like that. Or on the Discord. If you want, like, there's a help with audio channel. That might be a better spot for it. Oh, AI capabilities. Flexible audio. So I kind of have this rule when it comes to new chipsets that I don't let myself get too excited about a new chipset until I can actually buy it. Engineering samples, fine. But like, I don't get too excited until I can actually buy like a dev kit with it. For example, when do you think the ESP32 came out? Or was announced? Like, it was announced a while back. Let's see if we can find it. It takes a long time to get chips actually out. Yeah, May of 2023. So, oh, this is actually January of 2023. So that was 3 years ago. 3 years, and we haven't, and we still don't have it in like Adafruit products. It is like out in products, but it's also in this weird state that there's like version 1 and there's version 3, and they fixed a bunch of stuff in version 3, and like version 3s haven't been available. I mean, if it's spotted in the wilds, that's one thing, but like, I can't buy it. Like, it's not even listed here. Like, there's no dev kits listed here. Like, spotted in the wild is like somebody at Espressif has it, and that's great, but like, until I can buy a dev kit with it on it, like, I'm not gonna get that excited about it. Like, the H4 has been announced more often. C2, oh, so you can get an H4. Oh, but it doesn't have a buy button. So like, H4 is coming, H2 you can get, ESP32 is really old. It's just like, generally, I try not to get too excited until I can actually buy a chip. Like, we don't need that much runway to get things set up. Yeah. So generally, I'm not. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like, I'll believe it when I see it. I wish I could just see the overview. Don't they have just an overview? It seems to me that this is more like a 60 GPIOs. It's a P4 mashed up with an S3, which is great. Like, I'm super excited about that. It's got, oh, come on. So I'm wanting I want the thing that's in the video, which is like, let's see if it's under documents. This page will be closed soon, but we're still linking to it. maybe I just need to look at the press release. This will have what I want. So it's Wi-Fi 6, 2.4 gigahertz, Bluetooth 5.4, Thread and Zigbee, and Ethernet. It's got the same like 250 megahertz PSRAM sort of thing that the P4 has, which is awesome. P4 is at 400 megahertz. This is 320. I don't know what a DVP camera interface is. It doesn't look like it has DSI. It's just got parallel displays, but it's got the accelerators, which is cool. I assume it has USB. It doesn't say whether it's high-speed USB. It does have gigabit Ethernet, which is cool. So the P4 is only 100 megabits per second. Gigabit's pretty neat. Oh, it does say it's high-speed USB. The P4 has that too. I'd be curious to know if they have multiple. But yeah, I mean, this seems to me like more of a successor to the P4, which is cool, right? Like, we'll put our efforts into the P4 and what we can do with it. Because like, one thing to note is that it's a dual core RISC-V micro. So that's more similar to a P4 than it is to an S3, because the S3 is dual extensa cores. So it's a mashup between these two things. Oh, and then one core features a wide 128-bit data path with SIMD instructions. Yeah, I mean, it would be great. I don't let myself dream too much about it. The other way to find about new Espresso chips is actually just to look at the esp-idf. Firex asks, is the ESP32 S3 powerful enough for offline voice recognition in CircuitPython, or should I stick to C++ for that? Yeah, you're gonna need an accelerator for it. It also depends on what you want to recognize. Like, if you're just looking for like yes, no, maybe, but like after that, I don't know. So in components, sock. Here you can see kind of like everything that they've released publicly. So like H21 I don't think is on the website yet. S31 is in here. They've announced an E22, I think. ESP32 E22, I think is what it is. I'm not sure how this, oh, it's Wi-Fi 6E. So like this is on the website, but it's not in, see, I want this picture on the web page, not in a video. And like they've announced a module. I wonder if you can buy the module. Dev kits are coming soon. Tri-band 6E. So this is like even better Wi-Fi. BLE 5.4. Yeah, we try to stay up to date on the esp-idf just so that we can like try these chips as we get access to them. Okay, so there is a module, but you cannot buy it. So yeah, this is why I spend a lot of time on the Digikey new products for dev kits, is to just see what, and I'll just show you that. And then we'll get to, I'll go back to, I'll pop the stack and get back to what I was talking about. I actually made a suggestion to Digikey. I was like, I want to be able to sort by like what's the absolute newest. So on Digikey here, I go in stock, new product. I do in stock because I'm like, just because it's listed doesn't mean it's available. And also I'm like usually buying something else and I don't want marketplace stuff. So I do apply all. And then I usually, because I'm impulse buying, I sort by price. So we can see, generally I'm looking for boards that, like this is handy because this is like the chip family. Generally I'm looking for boards from the creator of the chip because they're the ones that are gonna have it first. so yeah, this is where I'm like, okay, what is newly available? Like, what could we maybe actually bring CircuitPython or just start using in general? And you get new Adafruit boards there too. And I have a bunch of these MCX kits. The other nice thing is that like ST's dev kits for new chips, like they come out and they're quite cheap. So here's the U3C5 for $31. And it's got an Arduino header on it, so like my hardware in the loop thing could fit on top. E247, that has Arduino as well. AVR I didn't turn off the other things, but yeah, this is where I get more excited. So here's the P4 tablet I was talking about, the M5 Stacks Tab 5. They have a really cool, this actually is the picture on there is the demo that comes shipping on it, and it's in like an interactive like diagram of the system, which is really cool. So like it'll have a little thing that shows like the accelerometer, and as you move it, it changes, and then there's actually buttons you can tap too, which I think is quite neat, a quite interesting way to do it. I bought one of these. Yeah, so this is where I go to impulse buy stuff. I don't see anything new and exciting since I've been there before. Okay, so that's my brain dump about the P4, the S3, and new chips in general. So when I was putting the YouTube video up earlier, I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And what I've been working on, basically, like after I ordered the hardware for the hardware in the loop stuff, I was like, you know what? I really need to make sure that like I have a proof of concept on the software side, so that I can like test the hardware devices when I get them. And so I was starting to do that on Tuesday before I had a sick kid, and then I was at home. So I did some like fixing stuff yesterday. I fixed, like there was a crash with the C6 on main, and I fixed that. And I also fixed, I added this board. No, not this board. I didn't add that board. I added my, so this is not the right board. There's like I had three versions. This is the P4 EV function board from Espressif. So this is like, this is their kind of default dev kit for the P4. I have three versions of this. This is version 1.4. I have a 1.54, which has a version 1 chip on it. This is like pre-1 chip. This is the one that we put 5 volts on the pins to see what happened. And then I have a version 1.6, which has the V3 of the chip on it. And so I added that to CircuitPython. It's the first V3 P4, version 3 P4 chip in CircuitPython, and I had to fix some stuff to get that working. So that was merged in yesterday as well. So it's like I've been kind of dragging my feet on the hardware in the loop stuff because there's a lot of moving pieces. You have to like figure out how to flash it and then capture kind of like you have to capture like all of the outputs and stuff for it. So there's just like a lot of stuff to think about for the hardware in the loop stuff. So I was getting really frustrated when I was in the office earlier this week doing Claude. It was having problems prompting me for approvals to do things, and it felt like the approvals were like constantly coming at me. And on Wednesday when I was home with my kid, I was like rabbit holing into local models and like trying to figure that out, because there's this other agent called Pi that could use local models, but it doesn't have a sandbox, which is really nice because it just works. It doesn't prompt you constantly, but like that's not really what you want to do. And then like I realized Claude is like quite annoying with all of its sandbox. It has a mode that you can run without the sandbox and without permissions, but like, do you really want to do that? So I'm taking a little adventure into the land of making my own sandbox that I can run anything in for CircuitPython development. And that's what I've been thinking of today is botbox. And Claude's helping me do it. Let's see. FireX10 says, since the 0.96 OLED has limited resolution, is it better to store animations as pre-rendered bitmaps on the S3's flash to save CPU cycles for offline AI? You're going to have to be more specific on what you mean by offline AI, because I am skeptical that you're going to be doing anything offline that's like large language models. Like, you just can't run large language models on microcontroller class hardware. It's just not going to happen. The people that are like making claws on ESP32s, like, they're calling out to a separate service to do all of the AI side of things. It doesn't really matter. You could generate the bitmaps probably quicker than, as quick as loading it off of whatever you have them stored on. So I've been working on this botbox command because I want to be able to run Claude or anything else in a sandbox that works specifically for CircuitPython, compilation and flashing and stuff, but I don't want to have it have access to everything on my computer. So I've been playing around with making just like an easy Python CLI to do it. And once I'm kind of at this small thing. So this one is, this is Claude running in my sandbox. So it's botbox, and then I call it Claude. So it ran Claude. I've already logged in, and I'm in this thing, but it's not building right, and so I can quit and what was it? I don't remember the commands because set environment. Change directories, bind. Okay, so I just need to do, so let's see if this works now. So botbox, the way that I have this working is that it just stores paths that are okay to access. I was thinking about maybe like allowing you to have like different setups that you have, but frankly, I mostly use it for CircuitPython. So like I only really have one. So I just did botbox add and then a directory. So that adds this directory as something that the thing running inside botbox can have access to. And so, yeah. So I've told it it's running in a sandbox, which is why it's like, think about it as. I don't know how virtual environments actually work. I was hoping to have botbox be able to say like, no, don't do that. That's not right. So in this other tab, I say new does botbox. The other thing I was trying to do is I was constantly running into problems with Claude, like not using my virtual environment. I have a virtual environment that my user uses, but it doesn't really work. Like it's really hard to get the Claude to like constantly use the virtual environment. So inside. You can't mutate it, that's fine. FireX 10, if you're using the S3, would you recommend using MicroLab? Yes, if that's what you need. Somebody on the Discord has some other AI accelerator sort of thing linked into, so you can look at that. The Discord, you can go to the URL adafru.it/discord to get on there. Python. I don't know why. Found having a skill use help there, but Windows as a whole. Claude was compiled with Bash, but I'm in PowerShell complexity thrown in. Yeah, it's just kind of annoying. Okay, let's take a look. I just did this. Let's make sure that the virtual environment is listed. It's telling me to do this, and path does not have the virtual environment in it. So it must not be set. Unset. Let's see if it works. Okay, so now let's try it. So the idea here is that, so the way botbox is working is the same way that the sandbox in Claude works. So there's this Linux program called bubblewrap that is a sandboxing CLI thing. And instead of letting Claude administer bubblewrap, I'm doing it through botbox. So there's some settings that botbox has that just applies to whatever runs within bubblewrap. So it's basically a way to remember the command line arguments to bubblewrap. So, oh, it looks like it's kind of going. So the trick is figuring out how to configure bubblewrap so that I can do everything I want to do with CircuitPython. And then I'm just wrapping it up in there something. And I found, this is the code. And it's obviously all clotted up. But I had, yeah, so I found this person that was doing this before that had some good tips about how you give it SSH access without access to your private keys. And they just use a shell script, but I'm a Python person, so I had Claude write me a Python program to do it. And then they kind of talk about how they have it exactly set up. And they have dev set up. So I need to figure out how dev works. So yeah. But yeah, at first I'm just okay, make sure I can do compiles within it. I have also run into issues with Claude, not having access to the .cache directory, which is used by distcc. So we'll do I'll try another Zephyr test build if this one works, which it could. I don't see my CPU going up way high. But yeah, so thinking more broadly, so this is a box that I can put Claude in and let Claude not worry about permissions. So Claude, you don't worry about like I was getting these permissions for like commands that it wanted to do that were like, change to this directory, do something, and then change back. And it was like, there's 2 CDs. I don't know how to analyze this. I'm like, chill out. Like, don't ask me about this. It's fine. I was finding myself being like, this is driving me bonkers. And so I realized this morning what I could do is make my own sandbox that just sandboxes whatever command I want, and then run Claude within it and say, Claude. So this botbox will also hold extra arguments. So when I did botbox Claude, it also added like the dangerously run without like permissions, and just be like, you're fine, you're in a sandbox, which is why it has this like bypass permissions on thing. Thank you so much. It's actually past 3 a.m. here in India, staying up late. Thank you for staying up late to watch. You can always watch it after the fact and find me on Discord as well. Thank you. Have a good night. Hope you can get to sleep quickly. And I did push botbox to my thing too. So I was trying to keep it so that it's like, it gets like the git SSH stuff correct, but, and then like everything else, like the CircuitPython related stuff would be like on my personal like settings for botbox. This is taking a long time. Maybe that's because I do have strace running. So I had this problem where I was like, oh, like I tried to run Claude and it like couldn't run Claude because of the way I have Claude installed on my machine is that it's like user bin Claude is a shell script that calls out to like something in opt. So I was like, oh, I just want this command that like will tell me if like something fails, like here's the files that it tried to access of like, do you want to add these automatically to your configuration that you want to be able to read and write? Didn't Lady Ada have a sandbox that she discussed a while ago? Maybe a different environment. Hi, RSBone. Maybe. I don't watch all of her videos. She's on Windows, so it's probably separate. But I also know that like generally she's gone like the Raspberry Pi route. And that's what Foamy Guy does as well. Yeah, so this build is taking a while. I wonder if it's because I've hooked up strace. So it's actually probably like logging every file that the build is reading and writing, which is a little excessive, I guess. But it did get there. Like it looks like it's running. So I think what I can do is I can do quit, and then I think Claude added no trace. Oh, I also had it Claude itself is using a separate directory for its information. No, I need to export. See, the sandbox is the red herring. Okay, so we let it run for like 5 minutes. Okay, I just saw my CPU spike a little bit. And we'll see how it does. Can we control O? Yes, we can. Okay, and then it finished. Great. Okay, now build a Zephyr board. So this is a good test, and then we should see if it could actually load onto a board. What's this one? This is an ESP32 S3 dev kit C, which I do have. Just thinking about. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I had to ask me that before. It's like, why are you asking me? Just pick any board. Pick any board to build. So my thinking is that, how does this fit in the hardware in the loop process? Well, I think I would want to run the hardware in the loop from within this, right? So I want it to have access to like my source files. I want it to have access to the serial connections to the devices, but I don't want it necessarily everywhere else. CMake configure step. So I think it's a little weird. I would want to just, I think I want to invert the way trace works. So let's do it. Make it explicit. And always prompt to add access. Even when the command seems to succeed. Yeah, so using a separate Raspberry Pi. My issue with that is that, like, I'm still picturing that I am actively driving this agent loop, like I'm giving feedback, and like it's not something that I'm doing asynchronously, really. So like compile time matters to me. So I want to use this computer because it's got 16 cores. I don't want to use a Raspberry Pi because it'll take forever. RSPhone's listening for commercial drones with the ESP32. They send 802.11 remote ID frames. Yeah. Sandbox on the same computer. Yeah, so I'm like, I was also looking at what I started with today was like, what if I made a user and just like did all this user stuff? But then I was looking at like some of the directories I have on my computer, and I'm like, that I don't want like them to have access to, and it's just like they're all still read to everybody, and which they probably shouldn't be. But like I need something that is more like bubblewrap, which is like opting file accesses into it rather than the reverse. It's interesting. I've seen this more with Claude. They must have changed the prompts of like really prompts to like really include like task tracking and things, because they'll be like, I don't need it right now. And I was like, I didn't tell you to do it. Somebody else did. But yeah. Okay, so it's going. Set up the main PC as a Docker host and USB IP and all the boards, plus a webcam over ESP2. I do have a second Git user now, because I have a Mac Mini that I wish I had gotten with 32 gigs of RAM, but I only got 16. I have a Mac Mini that I've actually set up with like a separate Apple ID and stuff. I was trying OpenClaw, but I can't seem to get OpenClaw to actually run regularly. Like it runs for a little, I could poke it and it runs, and then like something happens and it dies, and it's just been annoying. So like, yeah. And like Docker, like I played around with some Docker stuff to like try to save setup time in CI, but like then our current setup gets really weird. Like we use submodules to make sure that we're on like all of the same sub repos and stuff. It's just like, I think this has felt like the most promising direction for me so far. Okay, so now we should have a botbox trace. And now I want to build a Zephyr board, any one of them. And I'm not going to tell it's in a sandbox. I don't want it to make excuses. So let's see if it's able to read. And this should be tracing, because I gave it -- trace. So when we exit Claude, we should see a list of all the files that it accessed and be able to approve some that are not in there. You probably don't need to worry about a shared proc in your sandbox. I think that's handled. This person talks about that. Process isolation. The unshared PID flag creates a separate process namespace, so it can't see that like your browser or your email client are running. And I actually, straight up when I started this, I said, read this blog post and make me a Python command that does this, because they thought about this stuff. Yeah. I did find somebody else who did a TUI called BUI for bubblewrap. I forget what it was. Yeah. Bubblewrap CLI. No, this is separate. This is a different one. No, like people are thinking about this. Oh no, this is the right one. This is the buoy command. And they have a setup using something called Pasta to like manage network access. I'm less concerned about network access than it is just like file access. Yeah. But that's something like you could crib from as well. So yeah, I think bubblewrap handles that. And like I said, bubblewrap itself is what Claude Code uses. So like there's people using it for this sort of thing. But I'm just like, the prompts, the constant prompts from Claude are just driving me a little nuts. Like I thought that using /sandbox in Claude would exempt me from all these constant prompts, because like, but the problem is that like the sandbox that /sandbox uses isn't good enough. Like I still need to escape it sometimes. And so, and then like the decision on whether to prompt me to escape is like also done by LLMs. So like I was finding myself having to be like, you're asking me to allow you to run this outside the sandbox when you shouldn't need to. It was just like, it was driving me nuts. It was driving, all of the permissions of the sandboxing in Claude Code was driving me nuts. So, you know, thinking about the like, what are other ways that I could sandbox it this morning? And now I've landed on this and I'm like, this is great because I can build a sandbox that I can configure for myself, and I can literally run anything in. I can like test commands with it without having to do Claude first. Like I can run bash within the bubble, like in this botbox. Like it feels the right way to do it. I was looking at also, the Arundel, I don't know how to spell it. That's probably wrong. You think you're being so clever by naming yourself after something from Lord of the Rings, and then I can't spell it. It's the Armin's from, let's see, Hiko. This got me really excited. This is a post from Armin about, I really like what Armin's doing for LLMs, and talking about like needing to focus on using a model of like polishing it for local models. So I do want to do that, and I want to experiment with more local models like I said, I wish I got a Mac Mini with 32 gigs of RAM because I'd be able to run a lot more on it. I'm just kidding myself. I didn't, like, I missed the LLM coming. Like I should have seen it. I should have seen it. I should have been able to make different decisions, like buying a slightly more RAM Mac Mini last summer when I was actually, like, I bought that Mac Mini when I was doing Claude code for the first time, when I was on leave. I'm like, I just thought, I just need something, and something minimal to run Xcode. I don't need, anyway, I'm going off. So, Armin does really good. Oh, so they have this gondolin. So this is their answer for doing sandboxing. It uses TypeScript to, like, gauge file accesses and stuff. And I'm just not, and it's actually a VM. And it's a VM that runs Alpine Linux. And I was like, okay, well, if I need to install, like, ARM GCC none because that's my tool chain, like, how do I do that? And I was like, I can't do that for that. Like, bubblewrap, I think, is the right layer of, like, I'm exposing my actual system, but in a limited way. So I don't have to worry about, like, I don't want to administer, like, a different Linux box, right? I just want to put guardrails. I want to put a fence or a sandbox around my bots, and only allow them to do the things that I want them to do. So, any questions? Okay, so Zephyr SDK. So let's just escape, and now we quit, and now we should see what it was trying to do. Interesting. "19 hosts passed, the command tried to open." Pacman, bash profile. So I think we do want -cmake. GH. Vivaldi, interesting. So it looks like it is actually, so I'm going to review each. And I think I'll just skip it. I don't know what gii.conf is. Host.conf. Mounts. I think it's fine if you. It's like figuring out how to install stuff. Bash profile. CMake packages. Zephyr SDK. Yes, I want to allow that. Skip. Do I want it to give GH access? I don't think so, actually. So the thing that I could do is I could give it access to a different GH, and then it could, like, have I have a Newtbot instead. I think it's actually what I would want more. So I think I don't want it to give it to var. And okay, so it added read-only to Zephyr SDK, OS release, and LD Socache. So let's just try it again, and we'll do trace again and see what happens. Yeah, Ty says, could you ensure file system safety via user level access in the host OS, potentially even devices? I think I can, but I would have to be much better at maintaining those, because I have files in my home directory that are default read to everybody on the computer, which they probably shouldn't be, but they are. And so it just was like, I think it's easier for me to maintain a whitelist or like an allow list. Sorry, old terms. an allow list instead of having to like maintain my permissions. Oh yeah. See, so it's trying to list directories, which is interesting. Previous build logs reference this, but that directory doesn't exist. So let's quit. And I wonder, see, it's not showing up there. So why was that? Listed 3 directories. These are all, var is not a file. That's okay. So I can just do botbox add. Oh, it got 2 arguments and it doesn't know what to do. So let's go back to our other tab and say new. Make add support multiple paths at once. Maybe trace shows the resolved link locations. Yeah, trace is trying to be smart about only watching certain things. It uses strace under the hood, but it appears it's not catching everything, which is fine. Which is fine. But I am liking this approach. And like I said, like, oh, it would be cool if like I could make it use a different GH, right? Like have it log in as somebody else would be really nice. So for the same example on the Raspberry Pi, it's like, and I already have it using, a different Claude directory. So like I actually went in and in Claude, in the botbox, I said, what do you have access to? And do you think you should have access to it? And it was like, I can see all your history from all your Claude sessions. And I probably shouldn't be able to do that. And so I was like, okay, like set it up so that I use a separate file or like a separate folder for botbox Claude instead of like permission Claude, which is what I'm using in the bottom panel, which is kind of interesting. Okay, this should work again. Okay, so now we've added those. I kind of wanted to figure out how to do it dynamically, but I don't think bubblewrap doesn't allow you to change things dynamically from what I can tell. So let's even ignore the trace. But it's like remembering history, and I'm already logged in, which is great. And it's like, by the way, I'm bypassing permissions. And I'm like, I don't care because you're in a sandbox. All right, any final questions? I know this is like a little afield, but to summarize, I think LLMs change the calculus for tooling. When does tooling become worth it, right? So like if I didn't have LLMs, but I needed this sandboxing still, I feel like it would have taken me a week to do it. But I feel like now I've spent pretty much all day on it. I'm actually to the point where I'm getting something pretty usable. And I don't think that would have happened normally. So like there's all these tools that I think we think of that I would think of in all these different jobs that I've had, where I just say, I can't let that distract me because it would take too long, right? Like I would have to learn the ins and outs of bubblewrap or like this new language or all these things. And it's just like, here I'm reviewing, but I'm not writing. And like that, it makes it much easier. Reviewing is much easier than writing because you don't have to like know APIs ahead of time. So yeah, I think this is a really interesting paradigm, and I'm excited about it. And this is a tool of, like, I was getting really frustrated. I was thinking about like buying a $1,500 GPU to test run models on, which I think I've finally settled on how I'm going to try the local models without having local models, which is actually doing a Hugging Face account. I was thinking about this thing, and I asked this on the Pi Discord. I said, how can I not buy a $1,500 GPU but still support like the local LLM world? You know, the GPU thing is like also like you're way overpaying, and then you're also like not future proof. Like, the nice thing about subscriptions is that you're future proofed over the longer term. Because like I'm sure all of the hardware people are working on better hardware for these things. So, and it worked. Okay, do some other test builds. Yeah, so I think the way that I'll go about it is like, the reason I settled on, there's these providers that you can pay to like run models on their hardware. And there's like two modes. There's the like, I rent a GPU and I run whatever I want on it. And there's serverless mode, which is like you pay per token, million tokens. And that's really what I'd rather want, because I don't want to have to worry about like bringing up or down models. And there's this thing called OpenRouter. Anyway, I think I settled on Hugging Face simply because they actually pay the person that works on Llama CPP. Like they acqui-hired like the company that was doing Llama CPP. Now they work at Hugging Face, and it's like, okay, well, I should put some money towards Hugging Face, because like they are the GitHub for AI models, and like they should make some money. So I think I'm going to experiment more with some like locally capable models, like models I could run locally if I wanted to spend $1,500, but do it in a way that's like just using a service to run it. Anyway, one last comment from Tyeth, and then we will wrap up. Display testing this weekend. I had my Claude do local work and sync with a few Pis that have both GitHub accounts, but mine signed out. Then Claude's device under test, but SSH and myself if I ever need a private clone, then push to personal org so I can LM back. DCD says, when you get the sandbox working, are you going to add the Adafruit Learn Guide? To add an Adafruit Learn Guide. I am not great at writing Learn Guides, so probably not, frankly. This is a much better format for me of like, I spent an hour talking to you about it. The repo is up. I will commit the latest changes and push it before I leave today, which will be not too long from now. But yeah, I tend not to write Learn Guides generally. Maybe a playground, but then again, I think I'd rather the blog link. Is it in my, I think it is in my, this one. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's doing other builds. Great. Build from other ports. So I'm basically trying to find like other things that I need to allow list. But yeah, thanks to Patrick for writing about bubble wrapping Claude. And like I said, this is really cool because now if I want to like switch from Claude to Pi, Pi doesn't do any sandboxing itself. There's the thing that I showed off that like the Arendelle folks are doing, but like now I don't have to worry about it. I can set up the sandbox outside of my agent and run Pi in it, or whatever agent, or codecs in it. Like I can run whatever agent I want within the sandbox that's set up for CircuitPython development. So I'm excited about this approach. All right, it looks like it's going pretty well. Let's see if I've plugged in a ESP32S3. Try talking to it. We'll see. Bye, VP Tech Ops, and let me wrap up. I can keep going. I'm excited about this. Thank you all for joining me for this deep dive. I should be around next week. Although, as you all know, most of you know I have 2 young children who can get sick at any point. I can get sick at any point. So if you want to get notified when that happens and we have a schedule change, you can go to the URL adafru.it/discord. Ask me there to add you to the sorry, I saw the Claude response go by. Add you to the deep divers role. I just say at deep divers. Here's what's happening. And yeah, if you want to support me, you can go to adafruit.com, purchase hardware there. If you want to follow along with what I'm doing, you can check out my repos and the latest pushes to those, github.com/tannewt. Thanks in advance to DCD, who usually takes time codes, so that if you're watching this after the fact, you get time codes in your YouTube stream, thanks to DCD. And I think that's it. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you on the Discords next week. Here's the kind of windy, cold day here in Seattle.